All right, everybody, welcome and let us begin. We are going to be discussing the power of BIM in healthcare and how do we unlock the new standards, protocols, and even workflows that are required from us when utilizing BIM itself. A little bit of an introduction from my side. So before we start, let me give you my elevator pitch. My name is Dino Kapic. I am one of the AEC applications engineers at Modern Infrastructure, and I specialize in the mechanical, electrical, and piping fields within the AEC industry. I've been in this industry for roughly about 10 years, and I have seen some amazing softwares, workflows, teams, and projects coming about. I am a fellow ISO 1965 practitioner. My professional skills extend further to Revit, AutoCAD, and more Autodesk products. And one of my latest accomplishments extends now into the BIM field, especially with the Autodesk products like BIM 360 Docs, BIM 360 Design, as well as BIM 360 Build. And in case you guys need to know, I'm also specializing in the ACC line. So if you have any questions with those product items, I'm more than happy to give you an answer from there. Now, if you, like me, struggle to acquire new knowledge to keep up with the increasing changes within the industry, this quote might help you. The expert in anything was once a beginner. So to all my future experts listening to this webinar, let's do this. So there is a bit of an agenda for us to go through. So we will be covering the following topic and points within this series. And we will be defining industry syndromes, or let's say industry trends that we are now seeing. Further to that, we will define what BIM is. So for those of you who don't know what the abbreviation BIM is or stands for, we will go through that as well. We will touch on data within the building lifecycle as well as a project lifecycle. And that is the old methodology as well as the new methodology. We will then discuss BIM principles, and there are 4 BIM principles that everybody needs to look out for. The Common Data Environment, or CDE, BIM Collaboration, BIM Coordination, and BIM On Site. Now that we've got the agenda out of the way, let us begin. So let's define industry syndromes. So before we start with BIM processes in healthcare, I'd like to draw your attention to the following term, Uber syndrome. We define the Uber syndrome with the following statement. When a competitor with a different business model or idea enters an existing industry and outshines the competition. So take Uber, for example. Once an existing industry was almost overshadowed by what Uber was doing across the world. The old methodology of hiring a taxi became tedious. For those of you who remember, before Uber, we had to pick up a phone, find out the taxi company that was going to pick us up, and then track it from that same phone number by calling back and forth. Uber basically gave you access to a taxi service that you can track, monitor, and follow all at a touch of a button. But it's not just Uber that falls under this specific syndrome. The likes of Autodesk, Google, and Amazon have been doing this for a while now, where they made it easier for you to connect, track, monitor, whether it's software, shopping, or even searching for elements online. Now, how does that affect us? What has changed in our environment for us to get all access to this type of information, but not just dumb information, analytical information that keeps working for us? Well, what has changed is our phones. We no longer refer to these as cell phones, but as smartphones. So remember, smartphones are becoming smarter devices. There are better features and upgrades available almost every day. And we just see exponential growth within that technology, those softwares, and how it performs in our daily life. These phones have become much easier to use in the last 5 years, with apps almost guiding everything we do. from social networking to tracking the time. Every day we see more and more compatible apps that change our lifestyle. Uber, Amazon, BIM 360, and more have changed the way we view our devices. These things are on us almost 24/7 constantly. Further to that, there is better connectivity around the world. So wireless services like the web making, it has made it easier for us to access so much more data anytime, anywhere around the world. Now, to complement the cell phone or the smartphone at this point was the internet. So connection became better and faster. We are seeing the likes of 3G, 4G, 5G, and it's taken shape in such a short time frame. So it's better for us now to access the web than it was 10 years ago. People around the world are gaining access now, and it's just developing even further. So socializing has become a major part of how we utilize our devices, as well as the Internet of Things. And as well, it's become more compatible to integrate smartphone devices with the Internet of Things. And it's not just smartphone devices, but even our software devices are following the exact same trend. So please keep this in mind that in this BIM presentation, we will talk about how technology will leverage how we do things now and in the future. Technology and the Internet of Things will be the driving force for BIM standards in healthcare. So let's take a look. Let's define the word BIM. There are two ways we can define this item. The first way is building information modeling, and the second is building information management. In terms of information modeling, this will affect how we design and share data with the project between architects, engineers, contractors, consultants during the design and construction of the healthcare building. If we are referring now to the building information management, this will affect how contractors, facility managers, clients, teams, and even more consultants around the building lifecycle after its construction. So how are they handling that data? Now, there are some requirements of adopting the BIM process. First one is new technology. BIM does have some requirements and will affect people and data in healthcare, regardless if the building is being designed, constructed, or managed. New technology will affect how we track items like drawings, documentation, and even assets at any stage of the project. So if somebody was designing, for example, medical gas on a healthcare project, we can backtrack the installation through all the designs that hit the construction site with all the metadata that ties into that design. All of a sudden, we are not looking at just a piping system, but an asset that we are tracking at every point within our building lifecycle. Keep in mind that better connectivity for all the project on the web. So the idea is that BIM becomes almost a data dump server, or in actual fact, data dump servers will slowly be done away with. FTP sites are going to almost become a null and void item, mainly because of the integration of the common data environment being a platform for everybody to use and not siloed from other consultants or individuals. In terms of BIM, there are new workflows and standards to adhere to. Countries around the world are starting to mandate their BIM standards. Not so much so in the private industry, but more so now in a government workspace as well, because the benefits outshine the previous old methods. So the new standards are required. New skills are required, and for new roles and responsibilities that are emerging. All of a sudden, we are seeing BIM managers, BIM coordinators, information handlers, and so forth. And of course, a faster flow of information to everyone that requires access. And this is a possibility with BIM. At any point, at any time, anywhere in the world, you have access to that data for that building in that country. So, since we've got the definitions on BIM, keep this in mind. When it comes to BIM, it's all about the data. The data is the most important aspect of any BIM project, no matter how small or large scale the data item is. So let's talk about the old standards of our work, the building life cycle, the current trend that we see. Take a look at this bubble. This is the design phase. This is where the project team collaborate in order to have a design in place. Usually contractors and facility managers are not involved at this point. All the data created in this bubble stay within this bubble. The moment we go into a construction phase, all of a sudden, there's a completely new bubble. And within this bubble, there's new information that is flowing here. However, the information from the previous bubble doesn't exactly go through efficiently. So this is where contractors and new teams emerge to build what was designed for. Even though information does not flow great between the design team and the construction team, there are different data storages that are used on both sides, causing a mismanagement of data, coordination issues that can't be properly adjusted for, and anticipating clashes on site is almost an impossible task. But somehow we manage to go through this and we hand over the documents. Within this phase, this is where construction and design teams hand over all the information they can, usually from their data storage environment into a new one. Not all the data goes through. Data that should be increasing quickly and manageable ends up in an old storage room full of paper and promises. All data handed over usually stays in this small bubble. Remember, we want to integrate our data between each cycle. And if we are losing data, we are losing time, money, as well as a reputation that we have within the industry. But after handover, we can then go into facilities management. This is now where a team handles the day-to-day activities of the building with the data that was given to them from handover stage. Items go missing as the team has to upload to a new data silo. So information gets recreated multiple times with multiple variations. At this point, most of the data from the design phase, construction phase have gone missing. New data servers means all data created in this bubble stay within that bubble. And if we need to then go into reconstruction, this is now where we need to add additional data to be constructed for. With so much data missing, inspection teams have to be brought out onto site to confirm if certain assets are existing. All of a sudden, we are doing reworks of original items that were in place. The cost, this is going to cost you time and money. This could have been avoided if data migrated effortlessly. However, this data has been created again, and once more, data created in this bubble stay within this bubble. So let's summarize. During these stages, we have siloed data between each bubble. The disadvantage of a siloed item is it's isolated from other stages. Remember, isolation is not the key to collaboration and coordination. Data does not migrate between phases efficiently, results in huge data losses. Data is isolated, rigid, and stale. And that's not something you want to work with, especially coming from a facilities management point of view, or even a reconstruction side. And then finally, data must be recreated multiple times, resulting in a time, cost, and reputation loss. But we are still adamant to adhere to this standard. Let's talk about the building lifecycle in terms of a BIM approach, the new standard. So we can't get rid of the phases because there are aspects that happen in one that don't happen in another. Think about it. The design phase is for design. Construction is for construction. Facility managers have their roles. Every bubble is separate. However, we can change the way data flows between these phases. What if all phases fed into an ever-growing bubble of data? The bubble stores data from all phases of the building lifecycle. Every time we add more data to this bubble, it grows. So we refer to this bubble as the CDE, or Common Data Environment. The CDE itself is defined in two terms. It is a digital place where data is stored. So it's not a physical server. This is now a digital place of our data storage. Two, it is an ever-growing process during the project lifecycle and building lifecycle. So data doesn't become rigid or stale. It constantly flows and it grows. And on top of that, it shares analytical data back to you. So remember, with the common data environment, you have one repository for all to access and use. This promotes collaborative working environments between consultants and contractors. Data expands, grows, evolves, and most importantly, becomes cognitive. It's a smart data item. It's no longer dumbed down text of information. And then there is a place for everything, and everything within its place within the CDE. Remember, when we backtrack and recycle information that is existing, we are now avoiding the recreation of that specific item multiple times over. Because we can track from the design phase straight through to the reconstruction phase, we have access to what happened at those points in time. So that is how we are looking at the BIM standard for the building life cycle. Now, let's take a look at how these standards are affected. This graph shows the following trends when it comes to handling data during the building lifecycle. On the X plane, we have our lifecycle broken down into phases, design straight to new reconfiguration. And on the Y plane, we have the growth of data. Right here is where the project starts. At the start of the project, we have a traditional workflow, which is going to be indicated by a purple line and data loss indicated by red. So at the start of the planning phase, we are following the tradition of planning before we go into design. We get as much information about what we want to build before we go into the designing phase. This is where we experience our first data loss. Now, it might not be much, but we can manage that data. And it's relatively easy to get a hold of again, especially between service and consultant. But what if we go from a designing phase to a construction phase? We start losing more information. From construction to handover, we gain information and we lose information. Just between the three phases, we have already recreated information that should have been live or at least have a history tracker on it that we could refer back to. But because we are proud in how we do things, we carry on. And again, we recreate the information only to lose it once more. And when we get to reconstruction, all of a sudden, the information that we had at design phase goes missing. It happens. And we have to then start the project at this point with all that data being recreated. However, with the BIM workflow, it works a little bit differently. Because we are not taking a look at separate siloed hubs, we are now utilizing a common data environment. And what happens with our information is it grows exponentially. We don't lose information. Remember, a digital platform means that there is needs for us to backtrack and back up our data. If given the chance, would you like to start the project at this point? Most of the answers should be yes. But the problem with that is we like what we see on the graph, but we always end up starting at this exact same point because we are adamant about our workflow, which does need to change. So how will BIM, or how will you see how this information grows? What in the BIM workflows and standards is going to help you? So let's talk about the 4 key principles about the flow of data within BIM. One, of course, is the common data environment, which we referred to already. The second one is how we collaborate between consultants, clients, contractors, and even installers. How do we coordinate our design with the building during its life cycle and its construction phase? And then further to that, how does BIM then affect us on the construction site? Yes, we have all this digital information, but how do I take that on the construction site? So let's start with the first one, the common data environment. How does the CDE benefit healthcare projects? Well, let's take a look at the first point. One data environment for all to access and use at any stage of the building life cycle. And this goes out for all information. Documentations, drawing, assets are all saved in one place. Access can be restricted for those who require specific data. And this is a repository that gives you the history of the building, not just the history of the data. Next, all file types can be viewed online, anytime, anywhere, at any stage of the building. So whether I'm sharing AutoCAD, Revit, PDF, Microsoft Word, these items I should be able to at least view instead of download, get the application, and find specific means to read certain data. Remember, the common data environment is here to make it easier for you to read specific data items. 3, version history on all data regardless of the file type. So I need to be able to know what version I'm currently on. Is it the latest? Who's uploaded it? When did they upload? Can you give me a timestamp as well as a date stamp? That is a BIM standard. That is what is designed for while we utilize the BIM approach. 4, analytical tracking on ever-expanding data. So what do I mean by this? How many times has this user viewed this specific item? How many times has this company downloaded that specific item? When I'm running an issue on site, how many times has that issue occurred? That is analytical data being fed back to you from the common data environment. So track who did what and when. We have this power in the CDE because of new technologies emerging that was created on a web-based platform. And Autodesk are the people to talk to about how we host and share this data. Further to that, the host of the project owns the data. So if you are the developer for a healthcare system, it doesn't make sense for you now to go give everybody their own FTP site to download. But if you now host the data, everybody has to feed into your common data environment. And at any point in time, you can backtrack who you've worked with, who did what, who's uploaded what at that point in time for that specific project. And that is the power that you have with BIM. So in a nutshell, the common data environment here is a huge benefit in terms of how we save and track our data. We don't lose these items anymore. But let's see what are the complements now to the common data environment. The second BIM principle I want to talk about is BIM collaboration. BIM workflows are all about collaboration with others. At any point in time, members to the common data environment should be able to jump on and see what is taking shape. All members should be able to use data provided in the CDE to better the design, the construction, and the maintenance of a healthcare building. So what is the benefits of us moving to a virtual 3D model on a CDE? So here are the benefits. Number 1, design teams all work on their models that combine into a federated model. Each discipline has their own model that combines into another, creating a virtual twin of the building. Individuals might be from different AEC backgrounds, but all share a common goal and thus create a building up from a model together. That is the federated model. Two, federated models can be filtered in order to see design-specific elements. So having the power to section and filter a model online without drawing specific packages helps us visualize and see what was created by the design team. Construction members form part of the design team now as well. Let them see the model. So no longer are we printing out paper and wasting that away. And there's no more guesswork in reading what was designed for. If you can visually see it, it then helps you and benefits you within the project. And remember, all members are not restricted to drawing software packages anymore to view the data. Users can leverage smart devices to view and interact with the model on site, or even the model in the drawing office. We're giving the team this much access, which leads to a better collaboration, not just between design and construction team, but all those who will be involved in the project in the future. The third BIM principle we'd like to talk about as well is coordination. When we develop a virtual model, we do this because it needs to mimic what the physical building will look like. Everything about the virtual model will become the physical building itself. So the idea here is we develop a virtual model, and because of our designs and construction teams work together, a new term starts to be coined. We now speak of a digital twin. The virtual model is created with such precision that it represents a physical building. This is a digital twin. Whatever is happening in one will result in the other. What are the benefits of having such a digital twin? Well, better coordination. Teams can start coordinating live while they design. Visualizing 3D models is much easier and effective than coordinating in 2D plans. There is no need to imagine what a line represents when you can see the 3D object in that space and time. Since we deal with a digital twin, we can coordinate and predict clashes on site that can be resolved during the design phase. This already saves us time and money to reroute ducting, piping, and cable trays, or even rebuilding walls, redesigning rooms and spaces. The CDE makes it easier for us to coordinate because the federated model represents the physical building. The CDE should also allow for online clash detections for all to use. And we are starting to see that in the industry. Thirdly, better asset tracking. Once the building is complete, the digital twin does not disappear. Think about it. That can now be utilized as an asset tracker. So assets are placed in the model and are in the same location as in the building. Remember, digital twin, virtual model, and physical building. If I have a chiller plant room on the roof at this point, it should be in the exact same point in the physical building. So this helps us monitor and track our assets a lot better, especially when we hand over information. We work together to create the virtual model. We allow it to do more for us within the project. So that would be our BIM coordination. Finally, BIM on site. Let's talk about BIM on site. I want you guys to take a look at this photo here. What do you notice? Two gentlemen reading the plans. It looks effortless, doesn't it? But what if I had to remind you that this is very misleading? How many of you have been on site in this current predicament? If you haven't, I want you to imagine this. For those of you who worked on a site with paper, there's a lot of issues. Printing documents can be an issue. Handling paper on site can be frustrating, especially here in South Africa. And if we lose our time, this delays the project. Running any type of, let's say, quality during this inspection or this time frame will result in frustrating workflows and recreation of specific data. What if we change it though? Because the construction has access to the common data environment, what we can do with the information now greatly benefits us during the construction phase. Look at the following image. What do you notice? Do you see that there is a benefit of us actually having a digital device on site? No longer are we mishandling large amounts of papers, pens, and plans. Everything is in one place, as it should be. So for us to find specific items on site has become increasingly easier. So let's look at more benefits on construction. Virtual models on site for better construction, building, and planning. Contractors and site agents have a better understanding of what is being built, as they don't have to perform guesswork, but can visualize from the virtual model and predict what will come to site. The day is coming where designs on paper for a construction project will slowly be an unnecessary burden. So, if we are seeing growth in smartphones and Internet of Things, let's utilize it on site, not just in the office. 2, analytical data for contractors help them see when drawings and models were published, help see exact changes and even updates on the documentations, models, and more. No waiting time means less delays, less money being spent on guesswork. So that's another benefit of analytical data on site. And then thirdly, because we are using the common data environment, we are able to build templates that the whole team can use for their site inspections, whether it's safety checks, commissioning elements, quality controls that are being built for, we can now track these snags on site. These templates lessen the time frame to generate reports, because the idea is once I've snagged the item, the report needs to be ready for me. So instead of me manually collecting and coordinating the information, my common data environment is doing it for me. So BIM on Site is here to give contractors the necessary boost to collaborate and coordinate even more with the designs they are building from. The communication between all members on a project is streamlined. With this type of access to data, we all become better at what we do. We have the means now to leverage information for a better building lifecycle. Those are your 4 BIM principles. So, a reminder: common data environment, BIM collaboration, BIM coordination, and BIM on site. So, let's recap. BIM is a standard that has been used, not just in parts of the world, it is here in Africa now as well. Projects utilizing BIM are appearing more often. The fact is, data is becoming easier to handle the more we produce. Old standards of CAD workflows, isolated data silos, no collaboration teams, broken coordination, and even paper systems are being done away with. So much like the Uber syndrome, BIM is a new competitor in the market in terms of workflows and standards that are outshining the previous competitors and making it better, faster, and easier. So, how will BIM standards change the old ways? Well, again, it starts with our smart devices. Smart devices are smarter and are better now for office collaboration, team coordination, and even analytical tracking for project data. Smart devices are easier to use for the convenience of linking to the common data environment for all the data you require, anytime, anywhere on the building lifecycle. BIM applications are becoming the norm. Applications for design, collaboration, coordination, and even site works are being created to make your life easier and your smart devices better on site. Better connectivity also affects the way we do things. Because we carry these phones around with us everywhere, all of a sudden data and Wi-Fi has become available. So we connect in and we work with these items. Other things that will change the old ways is the Internet of Things. So greater connectivity means we have access to our project data anytime, anywhere. Everyone has access to the web already. Everyone on the project at any point in time in the building lifecycle can easily access data they require. Web compatibility is integral to our smart devices. Without it, our BIM standards and processes will not function accordingly. So we can perform some amazing feats in the healthcare sector. Thanks to the implementation of BIM, technology is growing, and with it, the building information modeling and management are streamlining the industry, much like what Uber did within the taxi industry. Don't think that BIM is not being utilized here in Africa. That type of thinking will keep our processes rigid and stale. So watch this continent and it will surprise you on what we can produce, because we are almost there with the likes of those in the States, within Europe, and within Asia. Yes, we might be a little bit behind, but we will catch up. So we would like to call on you. We absolutely need you all. So during the COVID-19 pandemic, we have sped up the pace of digital transformation by 7 years. Silo legacy workflows cause miscommunication and delays throughout the project lifecycle, resulting in disjointed teams, incompatibility systems, and less revenue in the project owner's pocket. Collaboration and coordination from design throughout construction leads to a smoother handoff with better data for operations on day one. So join us for an industry panel discussion on collaborative healthcare projects and discover the best practices, pitfalls, and key benefits in driving collaboration in healthcare projects. So for those of you joining us on this webinar, you will get an invite to come join us in this panel. This is a very unique discussion that will take place with individuals who have expertise in the field as well. So we need you. So prep your questions, suggestions, and expertise for this future event. And come join us at our healthcare panel discussion. I will be opening up the session for a Q&A, so if you guys do have questions, we would love to hear from you. By the way, we do have a guest today in our studio, and it is Ahmed. He is part of our BIM workflows, and he absolutely nails Planoly and all the BIM execution plans. So if you guys have questions amongst the BIM execution items, you're more than welcome to ask. But in the meantime, was there anything from the discussion that you saw that was interesting?
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me, Dino. Yes, very interesting. What we see in the industry at the moment is that due to COVID, as you said, we want to speed up the industry. We want to take it, forward, but we still see people using different programs for different stages of the project. Design program and then emailing for documents, PDFs, so that we can do coordination in another program. Storing our data on FTP sites, etc., using a different app or different program for our snagging, whereas we can just use one program, one platform for our design, our coordination issues, for sending, sharing our documentation, our models, and for doing snagging, our issues, RFIs, submittals, transmittals, etc. We just need to make everybody aware of this. So what I've noticed is that as we reach out, we would like more people. As you said, we need you. We need the clients. We need everybody out there to make their consultants, their teams aware of these programs, of these platforms, of these features, and then we can assist accordingly.
Absolutely. I gotta say, looking back on the BIM construction site, I remember being on site with all those pieces of paper. I used to hate it, but we are now actually getting clients who are coming to us and saying, well, look, we were tired of utilizing our own templates because we gather all this information, we put it all together, we send it out to the project team, and my favorite reply always comes back. I didn't get that email. So that's one of the funniest issues we are having. So with the whole BIM workflows now, we don't have, oh, well, I didn't get that email, because we're tracking our inspections. So for example, if a contractor tells me that I didn't get that inspection report, I can always go back to BIM and see, oh wait, but he did view the report. He should have queries about this. Why was this overlooked? And the same thing can be used by him as well, in case there's a specific snag for myself to attend to. But I do see an even better, let's say, benefit for healthcare and BIM. It's basically the tracking of our assets. So yes, there are facility management processes that we can follow, but remember, the BIM item is meant to complement you in your work. To run a facilities management item for a client can be difficult, especially if data is not there. So would you rather work with the data that is available, that's almost as precise as what was designed for? Or are you still going to cling to the old ways and recreate this again and again and again? These are questions we'd like to ask the guys. So if there are any questions, guys, related to BIM, you're more than welcome to ask. I will give about a minute or so. If the questions don't come in, it's fine.
I just want to follow up on what you said. It's very, very important to hold ourselves and the rest of the individuals on our team accountable. We don't want excuses for not receiving documentation, items that would impact our coordination, etc. And using these platforms that are available to us, there's no room for excuses. Everybody is held accountable for everything they should put forward. Okay, I think we have a question.
Oh, we do. Skulk has asked us, "Hi Dino, I'm hoping we can get to complete. I'm hoping we can get rid of paper one day, so going paperless. You do still have difficulty with contractors requiring hard copies on site, as most work is done by subcontractors." That is true. Usually smaller companies, this means that many BIM licenses are required for small companies. This might not be worthwhile. The licensing and use of the platform should be reviewed, even though the free viewing licenses should be applied. Okay, so Scott, you do have a very good comment here, and this is something that has come up before. Dino, with all, let's say, BIM licenses from Autodesk for their common data environment, if I needed to host somebody, I had to buy them a license. However, that has changed significantly. So February this year, we saw a complete change in BIM. Autodesk has now released an upgraded series called ACC, or Autodesk Cloud Construction, and the licensing structure has become a whole lot better. So it's no longer that you're buying a license for somebody else to join you. You buy your own and you go join the project, so long as they invite you now.
Bring along.
It's a bring along license. And it's not just for designing the platform, it's for your common data environment, your building site works management tools, your coordination management tools, costing implementations, takeoff implementations. Those licenses are now freely available. Further to that, we are seeing now an uptake of contractors and subcontractors starting to see the benefits of utilizing BIM. So all of a sudden, projects are being rescoped for in terms of different pricing. Well, look, if we are going to run a BIM system, let's charge it. If so, why not? If you want the project to run smoother, make the suggestion, charge for the project. In terms of that, we've also seen developers here in South Africa utilizing BIM with immediate, if I could say, lasting benefits. So they could see the advantage of them owning the data. So I, as a developer, I host the project, I own the data, I invite the architect, engineer, contractor, and the moment we're done with the work, I can let them go, it's fine, and everything that they have uploaded to my data hub belongs to me. Everything from the design phase through to construction, and I can then go through all that information with my BIM manager or information handler and then hand it over to facilities. So yes, we are seeing better uptake within these licensing platforms and even workflows.
So it's in the developer's interest to promote the BIM.
Absolutely.
Tools. Okay.
So think of this now in a healthcare perspective. If I am looking now to build a hospital, I should be the one who owns the data. It just makes sense. I'm not then, let's say, tied down to any kind of design contractors who are now saying, look, you need to pay us for X amount of data. No, here's the platform, give us the designs, feed it in, and then once we're done, it's all there. I'm not having to backtrack to your FTP site, to that Google Drive site, to that Dropbox site. Because we are using one common data environment, the information just flows, grows, and becomes better for us in the long run.
although the developers will host the architects, the engineers, structural engineers, etc., on their hub, it is in our own interest as architects, engineering firms, structural companies, etc., to acquire these tools as well, so that when we are invited, when we are contracted, when we are called upon for our expertise, we already have these tools available for us.
So one of the funniest things is, but Dino, I don't see the use of us jumping into a BIM standard. Absolutely, I see where you are. It's fine. But if we illustrate it, it's almost like a cell phone. Do you remember cell phones 15 years ago? What were the capabilities of cell phones 15 years ago versus the capabilities now? Have you noticed that we transitioned from the cell phone phase into a smartphone phase? And honestly, a lot of people are so hooked now, they're not going to go back. And it's the same with the new approach. Yes, it's difficult to transition into something new. But once you're there, you look back and you see the benefits of now adopting future industry standards like BIM, like cell phones, smartphones, new internet technology. It's there to make it like easier for you. And then you think about what happened in the past, and you just remember all the frustrations that follow along from design, construction, and even the handover phase. I just remember a lot of stuff going missing.
A lot of rework.
Yeah.
That's right.
A lot of midnights where you're just reorganizing the drawing just because one item changed. But it does happen. All right, if there are no other questions, we will be closing this out. So thank you for those who did participate in this session. It is appreciated. If you didn't get the opportunity to ask a question, keep this in mind that we do have several contact details. I think it just froze. So for more information, if you'd like to email me your questions or queries, our contact, sorry about the Faro item, but we are not just Modern Faro, we're also Modern Autodesk affiliated. So our sales representative is Katie at Modena. You can ask her or query her with regards to BIM items. If you can't get a hold of me, you can then, if you can't get a hold of her, you can then get a hold of me. So my email is up there if you've got queries. And there is our telephone number. That is our latest telephone number there. So you are able to call us directly, and we will then put a technical person to handle that specific query. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for joining us in this presentation. Hopefully it wasn't too boring for everybody, and you got to learn a little bit new items when it comes to BIM. And until next time, guys, we will see you again. So we'll close out the session. From my side, goodbye, everybody. Hope to hear from you soon. Ahmed?
Cheers. Thanks, Dino, for having us.
Not a problem.
Keep safe.
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Ciao.